Hey everybody, Chris Americos here, and in this video I'm going to tell you all about English copula. Now, what does copula mean? Well, let's think of it like this. In most English sentences, we have subject, verb, and object. And where there's an object, this is a transitive verb, which means that the action moves from the subject to the object. Some verbs are not transitive, and they do not show that the action moves away from the subject. For example, if we say, he runs, it's just the subject doing the action, and the action is not transferred to an object. But in English, sometimes we just want to say more about the subject. We just want to give more information about the subject, and when we want to do that, it's like in math when we use the equal sign. And when you use the equal sign, it means that A and B are the same, right? That it's the same thing. A and B are different, but they are still equal. They are the same. So when we use copular verbs in English, it's like in math when we use this equal sign. So let me show you a few examples of this. Probably the best example of a copular verb is the verb to be. And I'm talking about when we use the verb to be in its usual meaning, not as a helping verb, right? Or not as a modal verb or any other type of verb, just as the main verb in the sentence. For example, if we say, I am a teacher, then I is the subject, am is the verb, and then teacher just tells us more information about who I am, right? So it's just giving us more information. There's no action that's being transferred. So sometimes we call these kinds of verbs linking verbs. So copular verbs are like linking verbs. And actually, there are a lot of them. So it's important that we know them. Because something else that's important to remember is that adjectives give us more information about nouns, and adverbs give us more information about verbs. But adverbs also give us more information about adjectives and other adverbs. So sometimes it's difficult to understand where we need to use an adjective and where we need to use an adverb. But when we use copular verbs or linking verbs, we use an adjective because we're not describing an action that's happening. We're just describing the subject. So let me give you a few examples of this. First of all, the word act. We could say, John acted strange. We don't have to say John acted strangely because the verb act is a copular verb, which means that it's just like an equal sign in math, right? Like we said, John acted strange. This tells us that at some point in time, John was strange. It's the same as the verb to be. Or the word appear. We can say John appeared happy, but he wasn't really happy. So it's how he looked. It's about him again. It just adds more information about him, and it doesn't add any information about any actions or verb about this, right? It's about John himself. The verb to be is the most usual example. We could say John is a hero, right? So John and hero are the same. They are equal. And remember that we need to have a verb in every sentence. Another verb that's very similar to the verb to be is the verb to become. For example, John became rich. It's about something that changed about John, right? But it's still adding more information about John, not about some action that he did. Next, call in. John called in sick. So imagine that John doesn't want to go to work because he doesn't feel good, and we can say that he called in sick. We don't have to say he called in sickly or unhealthily. No, that's about how he did the action, right? But here we want to talk about him in the state that he was in when he called. So we say he called in sick. Sick is about him. Sickly would be about how he called, right? This would be something different. Okay, the next one is the verb to come. And this one has a lot of different meanings. But here what we really mean is when we use the verb to come like the verb to become. So we might say something like, the predictions came true. And it means that the things that people said would happen in the future, the predictions, they became true, right? But usually we just use to come true. This is a special verb, and it has a special meaning that we use in this situation. When someone talks about something in the future, we can say it came true. And this is a great example of how we use true, which is an adjective, with this verb. And this is copular, because there's no action that's being transferred here, right? All that's happening is we're getting more information about the prediction. Or, for example, if you go to a concert and everybody is very quiet and maybe some people are sleeping, and then at one moment in the concert, everybody becomes very active. We can say, the audience came alive, right? Came alive. So again, we use an adjective here because this is a copular or linking verb. Okay, our next example is the verb to come out. And to come out really is like the verb to turn out. So it's like the result of something. So here we can really see that it's like an equals sign, right? So for example, you're baking some bread and you can say, the bread came out delicious. And you don't need to say deliciously, right? This would be about some action that happened, like coming out or moving out of the oven, right? This would be strange. It didn't walk out of the oven deliciously. It has the result, the final result, that it is delicious. So it came out delicious. All right, next is the verb to constitute. And we don't use it a lot, so I'll just give you a quick example. For example, nouns constitute one of the largest categories of words in English. There you go. Okay, a little more important of a word is the verb to die. I know it's sad, but we still have to talk about it sometimes. And we could say, for example, she died young. And here we need to say young as an adjective again, because die is a copular verb. We don't say youngly, right? We need to use an adjective. And the next one might surprise you. It's the verb to eat. And we could say he eats healthy or he eats unhealthy. And yeah, we can use an adjective here because, you know, we have this funny phrase in English, you are what you eat. And so here you can really see, again, it's like an equal sign in math. You are what you eat. And you and what you eat are the same. So think of that next time when you're speaking English and you want to talk about the way that somebody eats. What you're really saying is something about that person. Okay, our next example, to emerge. We could say, John emerged shocked from the accident. And emerge means to come out of a situation, right? To come out of something. But it's about being, again, how that person is when they come out of some situation or something, right? So he emerged from the accident and he was in the condition of being shocked. He was shocked when he came out of the accident. So he emerged shocked from the accident. Okay, another one is end up. This is kind of like come out because it talks about the final result of things. So you could say, I went to the beach and I put on sunscreen or sun lotion, but I ended up sunburnt. So here again, I'm using an adjective. It's about a condition that I'm in, right? So I ended up sunburnt. This is about me. More information about how I was after this experience, right? Now, this one should not be surprising. The word equal and the verb to equal. So I keep telling you in math, equals. So if you didn't really understand what that word meant, I think this example will help you. 4 plus 4 equals 8. So 8 and 4 plus 4 are actually written differently. They look differently, right? And when we speak about them differently. But in the end, they are the same. That's what equal means. That they are really just the same. Okay, our next example is with the verb to get. And I know you're probably thinking, Chris, there's a million meanings of the verb to get, and I agree, it's really difficult to learn them all. But what we're talking about here is when we say get, like become. So, for example, you're speaking to someone and you say something that they don't like. You could say, John got upset. John got upset. And this means that he was not happy about something, right? He became like this. It's about him. This is a copular verb. And very similarly, we can use the verb to go, like to become. For example, she went insane. She went crazy, right? So every day that I listen to this noise, I go crazy. You can say something like this, and it's about how you become. So it's, again, about you. It's not about the action itself. As you can see, a lot of these verbs really just mean to become and just give you a little bit more of a meaning, a different type of meaning in each situation. But in general, we could say that a lot of these words are the same as the verb to become. And here's another example. To grow. For example, the more I spoke with the man, the more suspicious I grew. Now, to grow suspicious, we could also say to become suspicious. They're the same. But we have the verb to grow that we can use in this way. So when we use it like this, then it is a copular verb. All right, another example is the verb to fall. And we use this a lot when someone is sick or ill. We can say, he fell ill. So again, it's like to become. He became ill. But he fell ill highlights that, this was a negative thing and it's a low point for him. All right, our next example is the verb to feel. After a long day of work, you might feel exhausted. And if you live somewhere where it gets cold in the winter, then you might have a pond or river or lake near your house that freezes solid. Yeah, we can say that the lake is frozen solid or the lake froze solid. So it's like it became solid. Our next example is with the verb to keep. And we could tell someone, keep still. It means don't move. Or keep quiet. It means don't make a noise. Right? So basically it means stay how you are or be the same. So of course, this is not about an action, it's just more about you. Now our next example, I honestly don't use a lot, but I have heard it in newspapers and on the news, on television and things like that. So if we talk about politics, we could say that this district leans liberal. And so lean, which means to not stand straight, right? If we stand straight, we're like this, and if we stand like this, we are leaning. Maybe you know a famous tower in Pisa, Italy, called the Leaning Tower of Pisa. Well, we could say that this group of people lean in one direction, and this means that they have this opinion. All right, the next one should be really easy to understand. It's the verb to look. And so we can say that this person has this appearance, right? We could say, John looks angry. And that's how he appears to us. Another one that is about appearing is the verb to play. Yeah, to play can be popular. And so we could say this about an animal. Maybe the animal is playing dead. Yeah, so we use this adjective, dead, to talk about how it appears. And that's really what we're talking about when we use the verb to play like this. Our next example is with the verb to prove. And this is really just another way to say to be, because it's talking about how it really is. So it's like really to be. For example, I thought the exam would be easy, but it proved very difficult. So it's similar to end up or come out, right? The end result was that this exam was difficult. It proved to be difficult, or it proved difficult. Another one that we can use in this way as a copular verb is to remain. And this means to stay or not to change, right? To continue to do something. So we can say remain calm. We don't say remain calmly, right? We say remain calm because this is a linking verb, a copular verb. Now here's one that a lot of people get confused with. This is the verb to run. And maybe there's some kind of idea that's very popular in your family or your group of friends, and you can say, let's say that it's patriotism. You guys really love your country, and you say, patriotism runs deep in my family. So we can say runs deep, not deeply, runs deep. This is probably one of the only situations when we use it like this, but it's an interesting one. Okay, another one that is about appearances is the verb to seem. So this is like the verb to be, but how it appears to us, right? So he seemed to be in a hurry. And we could say he seemed rushed, right? If we want to use an adjective to provide more information about about the subject. So, if we have this example, he seemed rushed, then we can say that because it's a copular verb. Another one that is used very often like this is the verb to shine. And we can say, for example, the stars are shining bright. So it talks about something that they're doing, right? It seems like it's an action, like shining would be an action, but there's no transfer of this action at all. So when we say the stars shine bright, it's really talking about just a quality that they have. It's just giving us more information about the subject because this is a copular verb again. Now, one thing that you can remember is that the verbs of the senses are usually copular when we use them in these ways. Like when we said look, we said he looks angry, and so this is how it appears to me, right? Another one is smell. We could say this smells terrible. Or to sound, that sounds great. So after these verbs, we use adjectives, not adverbs. And another one that we can use that means not change or to stay the same is, well, the verb to stay. We can use the verb to stay, like stay calm, right? Like we said, remain calm. We could also say stay calm. Or we could say everyone left and John stayed alone. So he existed, he was alone. Okay, our next example is with the verb to take. And you probably remember when we had the verb to fall. It was about being ill, right? Where is it? Here it is. I'm trying to stay away from it. Fall ill. Well, another way that we can say to fall ill is to take ill. Yeah, it means the same thing. And so we could say he took ill and stayed home. He fell ill and stayed home. If you fall ill, you need to go to the hospital. If you take ill, you need to go to the hospital. They're the same. All right, our next example is the verb to taste. And to taste is another verb of the senses. We can say, this tastes wonderful, or it tastes salty, or something like this, right? We use an adjective. So don't forget that about verbs of the senses. All right, our next example is the verb to turn. And this is very close to the verb to become. We could say he turned angry when I told him the bad news. Like he became angry or he got angry, right? They're all very similar, and this is another example of that. Now, the next one is not just the verb to turn, but to turn up. And this is, again, very close to end up or come out or prove, right? It's about that last result, that final result. So turn up can be about that final situation or the final result of the actions that we were taking. And maybe everybody is trying to find a person. Nobody can find them, and they think that he is missing. They looked, and he turned up missing. So in the end, this was his condition. This was his state. So this is another copular verb. And our last example for today is the verb to wax. And you're probably thinking, what does that mean? Or you're thinking, well, how can that be used as a verb, right? To wax. Well, maybe you know what that means. To wax, it's like you put something special on your car and now your car is very smooth and shiny. Well, this is wax. You make wax from candles. This is wax. Or you make candles from wax, I guess, would be more correct to say. But the verb to wax means something very different. It's like to have a feeling and to have emotions about something. So there's a phrase that we use a lot, to wax nostalgic. And I don't think we use it a lot, and not in spoken English, but in written English you might see this. So we could say, John waxed nostalgic. And this means that he had strong emotions or feelings about something from the past. So I hope that this video helped you understand copula in English and how we can understand these words and why we use adjectives with them instead of adverbs. I know that it's really confusing for a lot of people out there who are learning English because you learn that adverbs talk about verbs, and here we have verbs, right? All of these words behind me are verbs, but we don't use adverbs with them. And so this explains why we don't use adverbs with these kinds of verbs. And it's really just about the meaning that is being used with that verb, right? So that's what we really need to understand, is this whole idea of copula, or this equals sign in math. So I hope you liked this video. By the way, if you liked this and you want more videos like this, then press subscribe, press like, leave a comment down below. I also have a speaking club called Everyday English, where you can speak with me and with other native speaking teachers. Every day we have lots of lessons. I think we have 7 or 8 lessons every day right now, and we're always trying to add more. So when more students join, there's more lessons. It's a great program. I highly suggest coming over and practicing speaking with us. You can try it 1 month, and if you don't like it, you can stop. That's your choice. Also, if you send me your feedback, you can get my course called All About Articles 100% for free. Yeah, all you have to do is send me your feedback and I'll give you the course for free. I'm very serious about this. So if you want to understand how you can send me your feedback, there's a link under this video. Just click that link and you can go to the page and read more about what you need to do this, if you're interested in that. But if you really want to learn English and you want to learn how to speak it, I highly, highly suggest our Everyday English speaking program. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye-bye.